We have windows!
We got our hands dirty.
And our wall somewhat looks like it is leaking pee. We've been chasing our ID for weeks because there's lots of thunderstorms recently and our flush, service yard, partition wall and kitchen tiles were exposed to the strong winds and rains.
We didn't know it would take this long, about 3 weeks since measurement, which brings us to the first tip of this video. Arrange for your windows measurement ASAP within the first week of key collection, as it takes time for the permit, and for BTOs they may even need to procure the approved colour of powder coating.
Yes, HDB micromanages the powder coating colour of service yard windows, and apparently ours took more time because it is an unusual shade of grey.
That begets the question, shouldn't service yard windows then be part of the optional component scheme? Our painting also started in week 6, and here are some painting related tips that we think might be useful for you.
Starting with your paint colour choices. Tip number 1. Take note of the external facade colours of your building. When Sam bounced this to our ID early on, saying he was worried about the yellow walls reflecting into our home and altering the colour of our internal walls, our ID gave us a befuddled look. But guess what? It really did. It actually looks like the wall is leaking pee.
But not to worry, as this should change the moment we have the day curtains to diffuse the reflection. Tip number 2. Invest in the health of your walls with sealer treatment. We got the oil-based sealer for the entire house at an additional $500. Painting quotations through the ID is actually definitely more expensive, but we valued the overall project coordination and multiple phases including touch-ups, compared to engaging and managing your own self-sourced one-off painters.
Anyway, sealers essentially make porous surface non-porous, enhance adhesiveness and appearance of the paint top coat. This is recommended for new homes, especially since there will be new plaster walls. Other than health of your walls, invest in your own health too. Tip number 3. Pay a bit more for better quality paint. When we first received our quotation, we saw it mention Nippon Paint Vinilex 5000 and didn't think much about it as it sounded legit. But after we did some research, we found it's the entry-level paint, so we asked our ID to let us pay for an upgrade to the Odorless Medifresh, which has near zero VOC odor and comes with antibacterial properties.
Tip number 4. Plan painting works carefully. Honestly, there's no hurry to get the walls painted, especially if you have a lot of tiling works that somehow require continual fixing. The dust will always respond, so your walls will always be dusty and large dust bags will just accumulate and be embedded within each layer of paint coat.
So ask your ID for more sensible planning of painting works. We feel the first time the painter comes should be at least after your first round of cleaning and dusting of the walls.
There were also a lot of renovations lying around our walls, especially plasterboards and heavy tiles. Painters should not be wasting their time and energy to move tiles and renovations in and out of rooms. We ended up helping the painters to move things around because of the bad planning, as we wanted the painter to focus on completing the work.
We were also surprised to hear from our ID that the painter vendor can only make 3 trips to paint. That doesn't make sense because the first trip they arrived at 5 PM.
Yeah, see this girl wait until fall asleep.
Oi! And for the second trip, they sent one poor guy down to solo and he of course didn't manage to finish painting the coats.
So tip number 5, don't get hooked by your ID or painter. Painting completion should be counted by phases. Phase 1 should be your sealer or undercoat, phase 2 should be your top coat and across the entire home, and phase 3 should be simple touch-ups at the end of the renovation. It should not matter how long or how many trips are required to complete each phase.
If you recall from our earlier video, we actually swapped the vinyl skirting with HDB tiles. We love it a lot, but if you are more particular about neatness, you may find the top of the skirting rather disturbing. Unless you have a meticulous tiler and painter, the uneven surface may look terrible.
Tip number 6, take skirting matters into your own hands. We got the tiler to redo the skirting surface and personally use sandpaper to sand down the skirting. Sometimes doing things ourselves is more efficient than going back and forth.
Number 7, don't forget the pipes. After all, you already paid for whole house painting. The pipes are often neglected by painters, especially if you are planning to box it up or leave it in original white. But if you do touch it, you will realize that it has a rough and sharp finish. So it's good to sand it down too. And don't forget to use a magic wipe to remove all the dust prior to any painting.
Tip number 8, erase off pencil markings before painting. Contractors just like to draw on the walls. Remember the rings of Saturn? At first we thought that the painter will be wise enough to erase them off first, or even if they do not, the paint will overpower the pencil markings, but we were wrong.
The first painter simply painted over the pencil markings, and all other painters that came to take over the work were not able to cover the pencil markings. Not sure if you can see it in the video, but it's there. The latest painter told us that it's like 5 coats there and he still could not cover the pencil markings. In fact, he mentioned that he personally would have erased it first and didn't know why the other painters didn't bother to.
So yes, something to note: if you have light coloured paints or white ceilings, remember to personally erase off the markings first or tell the painter not to be lazy.
By the way, we also ran a poll on our IG on whether the insides of the false ceiling should be white like the real ceiling or painted the same colour as the false ceiling. Thanks to all who voted, we have decided to go with the ceiling white. Tip number 9, get painters to use better quality tape. Even though ours was so-called painter's tape that explicitly says it leaves no residue, it did, and the frustrating trail of glue is not easy to remove.
We actually asked BSC and the workers said that a few homeowners face this issue. One of them even tried to remove the residues themselves and ended up removing the powder coating too.
Anyway, we tried many substances but all failed until Dad found this magical potion that worked wonders. Glue gone indeed.
Finally, tip number 10 circles back to the defects checked with the builder. The painter tried and tried to fix certain solid wall issues but simply not skilled to do so. This is an example of our bathroom ceilings that only came to light when the literal lights were installed.
He mentioned he can't fix it and that this requires proper plaster expertise. We got in touch with BSC for their help. After all, they mentioned to us that we can still go to them post-reno so long as the defects were not caused by our reno process.